George Zimmerman doing?
Well, I think he's doing all right considering, he's under a considerable bit of stress as a result of all the things that have transpired in the last few weeks.
Where is George Zimmerman now?
I don't know. My conversations have been on the telephone. I don't know his exact location. I believe he is in the area.
So he's still
been in contact with him, and he is.
You believe he's still in the United States?
Oh yes.
There had been some indication maybe he was in Peru, or a report he was in Peru. That's not true.
No, that's not true.
What has your client told you about the night he shot Trayvon Martin?
That I believe he should have made a statement to police at that time. I think he did. I don't know for a fact because I haven't seen the police reports on this case. I have not discussed the evening of what occurred that time. I think that'll come out through the investigation process done by law enforcement.
You haven't discussed any of the details of that night with him?
No.
Why?
When there'll be even if I had, that would be attorney-client privilege, and I wouldn't be able to disclose that tonight. But at this point, there's an investigation going on, and I've advised him to cooperate with that investigation. And as far as what did or didn't happen that night, I think there have been interviews with different witnesses and so on to suffice to answer that question for you.
The 911 tapes have been released. Do you know, has your client heard the 911 tapes?
Other than what's being played on television?
Or has he heard what's being played on television?
I don't believe he has heard what's being played on television, nor have I.
Okay, you have not heard them. There are some people who believe that that your client may have uttered a racial slur. Some have heard those 911 tapes. They believe they may have heard that muttered under his breath. Has he made any indication to you about whether or not he did utter a racial slur?
I don't believe he did utter a racial slur. I've asked him if he uses racial slurs, and he has denied that. And as well as he has been involved in a mentorship program, which I think the funding was cut, but he actually mentored two African American. Well, he was a mentor to African American boy at the age of 14, and his wife was a mentor to the 13-year-old girl from via their parents. And in this, I talked with the mother of the two children, and she indicated I asked her, did he make comments to you that indicated he was a racist? And she said no. And she is African American, and for the things that he's done, as far as taking the children to the mall, he took them to the mall, took them to the science center, did the kind of outings to help the children have time out, to be a friend to them. I don't believe that's the indication of a person who's a racist to do that.
Has he given you any indication why he found Trayvon Martin suspicious?
No.
Because on the 911 tapes, he says these a-holes, they always get away. He also seemed to indicate he believed that perhaps Trayvon Martin was high or was on drugs.
I don't know. What's your question on that?
Again, he seemed to indicate on those 911 tapes that he found Trayvon Martin suspicious based on something he saw. I'm wondering if he has given you any indication, or if you have any sense of why he may have found Trayvon Martin suspicious.
No, I haven't listened to that 911 tape, and I haven't discussed that with him either.
You said your client had injuries. There had been reports that he had a bloody nose, that there was perhaps blood on the back of his head, grass stains on his back. What can you say about what injuries, if any, he had?
I believe that his nose was broken. He sustained injury to his nose, and on the back of his head he sustained a cut that was serious enough that probably should have had stitches, but there was a delay in him getting to the emergency room, so they, by the time they got there, got to the doctor, there was an option not to stitch it up because it already had started healing, is my understanding.
So the reports had indicated that the police didn't give him a drug test or didn't test for alcohol in your client. To your knowledge, was your client drinking or using drugs the night he shot Trayvon Martin?
To my knowledge, he was not, and I don't know what the results of any police report were, because I haven't seen them. I don't know that they've been released.
Did he indicate to you at all about how his nose got broken or his nose got hurt or the back of his head got cut?
Well, it was an injury that was done by Trayvon Martin.
Do you know if it was during a tussle? Did he describe at all how that injury occurred?
I've not discussed with him the incidents of that night, other than, you know, the injuries he sustained were from Trayvon Martin. I assume hit him in the face and caused him to fall back and hit his head. I don't know how all the incidents, it all came down. That's not been something I've discussed.
Larry, we appreciate your perspective on the show. Tell us if you think Zimmerman should be arrested, first of all.
No, I think, the police made the right decision. And I say that after finally learning, because I didn't know what to think at first, finally learning that only at the Orlando local news level was it revealed that there was a witness, a neighbor in front of his house, who saw Martin, the young man, on top of George Zimmerman, sitting on top of him. He had pushed him on his back, which explains the grass stain on the back of Zimmerman's shirt, and he was pummeling his face, which explains the bloody nose, and it was at this point that Zimmerman produced his gun and shot Martin. So that makes it sound a lot different from the way it's been reported.
He did run after the kid. That's a fact. You hear it on the 911 tapes.
He did, and you know, there's a thing called citizen's arrest that is legal in most states of our country.
Okay, so you acknowledge that he ran after the guy, but when this loser stalker finally catches up with a 17-year-old kid who's 140 pounds, and in your interpretation, gets his ass kicked because he's such an idiot, and he winds a 250-pound guy winds up on his ass from a 140-pound kid. And then you say, okay, he's allowed to shoot him?
The neighbor corroborated Zimmerman's report to the police, and I think that's why after the initial police impression, when they got not only Zimmerman's side of it, but when they got the neighbor who only would allow himself to be identified as John, who saw it from the front of his house, then it becomes a very different picture.
Do a little role reversal here. Let's say I'm stalking you, Larry, and I call into 911. I say, there it is again, a white guy in a tie. These are all the white-collar criminals that are robbing us blind. I'm going to go chase after that guy. And then I mumble under my breath, frickin' honkies. Okay, and I come after you, and you get the better of me. You wind up, let's say, and I don't grant you the facts at all, but I'm saying, assuming you're right about how the facts went down in the Zimmerman case, then you say, when I come up to you, this stalker, and you wind up punching me in the face, do I have a right to come out and shoot you?
When you've been pushed on your back and your assailant is sitting on top of you, wailing away, then at that point, a reasonable person might think, this is a bad situation getting worse.
Every witness has said that they heard the kid screaming, with the exception of this witness that Orlando claims that they have, that Larry Pratt is talking about, that they heard the kid scream, okay? And so the facts that you're hearing from Larry are not necessarily the case. I'm saying even if those facts are the case, it's nuts. So let's have that part of the conversation, Larry, because you're saying I can't chase you down.
If you jump on top of me,
you're saying I am.
You start beating the tar out of me, and I can get my hand on my gun, count on it. I'm going to shoot you.
All right, fantastic. Now I know that I can stalk your ass, and if you dare fight back, Larry, I can put a bullet right in your chest, and then go, oh, so bad. Oh, he fought back. He had Skittles in his pocket. He fought back. That guy with the tie, that white honky, I shot him dead.
After he pushed Martin down, who, by the way, is Hispanic, after he pushed Zimmerman down...
Oh, so Hispanics can't be racist, right? And he's part Hispanic, so that's... So that absolves him?
He's been identified as white, so I thought I might clear that up.
You've been identified as white.
He should have run away. He should have run away because he had his stalker on the ground.
Wait, why shouldn't Zimmerman have run away? If the cops told him don't go there, he's the one with the gun. Why shouldn't he have run away?
That.
So you think Zimmerman should stand his ground, and that's your big law, stand your ground. He should stand his ground, but when Trayvon Martin gets stuck with a gun, he shouldn't run away. Or he should run away.
Once Martin had neutralized the threat, Zimmerman was on the ground, that's when he should have just taken off to get out of there. That's not what he did, and he doubled down and he started to really beat the tar out of the guy.
You know who doubled down? Zimmerman, who stalked him in the first place and then shot him in the chest. So now you're telling me, last thing, Larry, last thing, okay? Stand your ground you think is a lovely law, right?
I don't think it applies here at all. We're talking about fighting off an assailant who's in the act of actually knocking your head off.
Larry, I think you're in a world of trouble. I mean, you're asking people to stalk you. You're asking everybody. You're encouraging vigilantism beyond belief. You're saying, hey, you know what? Go stalk anyone you like with a gun. If they dare fight back with Arizona IC or Skittles, then shoot them. You're telling everybody to go become shooters. You are a dangerous person, Larry. You the N.R.A, Alec, you get people killed on a daily basis.
You can call self-defense vigilantism if you wish, but
how
self-defense
about
protecting
Trayvon
your own
Martin's
life.
self-defense? How about when this idiot stalker comes at him with a gun and he does self-defense, and when he does self-defense, all of a sudden you say, no, he should be shot dead.
Trayvon Martin gave up his rights and shifted from being a victim to being an aggressor when after he knocked Zimmerman down, he didn't run away from that situation. Instead, he doubled down on the guy and then started doing a world of damage.
Funny how the kid with no gun is the one who, in your mind, gave up all his rights, but Zimmerman, the freak stalker who called the police 49 times on black males, called this guy a coon, chased him down with a gun. He has all the rights in the world. Funny how the world works in Larry Pratt's world and the N.R.A.'s world and Alec's world, who wants more and more guns and more people to shoot each other on a daily basis. Larry Pratt, thank you for joining us on the Young Turks and making your position
very balanced opinion.
making your position very, very clear to the American people.